In today's video, I'm going to be removing the rear panels so I can remove the exhaust and see just how bad it really is. I'm Stephen from Auto Night. A very warm welcome to another video. In an earlier upload, I carried out a vehicle health check on this Smart and I identified that it needs attention to the exhaust because the offside right-hand side bracket has rotted off completely. So today I'm going to delve deeper, see what I need to do, and then hopefully I can make a plan to resolve this. Now, whilst it's entirely possible to remove the exhaust silencer without removing the rear panels, it's a whole lot easier if we take this all off, and it makes for a better video for you. We need to remove the load cover, and we need these seats forward for reasons that I'll explain. Seats folded forward, just like that. It's now a whole lot easier if we remove this, and it's held in place by a nut each side. And we also need to remove this strap here on the right hand side, which goes onto the tailgate right there. This is a T40. Just leave that in there like that. Now we can undo these 16mm nuts each side. Need to support this tailgate as we loosen these nuts, as they are technically the only things that are left holding it in position. It can then be removed and placed in here like that. There's a short stretch of wiring loom or rubber conduit. Be careful not to stress that. We can now go on to removing the rear panels as normal. There is a video on this, link in the description. You can check that for the most comprehensive guide, or alternatively, watch this. Initially, we need to remove these T25s down at the bottom here. On this one at the back, the little plastic insert has already pushed through. It was like this when I got this car. So this is going to be a bit of a problem. I need to kind of pull out on this and at the same time undo it. That additional screw did come out along with the insert that goes into the seal. And a whole bunch of mud. This side is now free. We repeat the same the other side. We now have some bolts at the back, one in the centre. T25s. We got a couple more lower down, and another one this side, all T25s, and we've got two each side just slightly inboard of the taillights. We repeat on the other side. We need to loosen this fuel cap and disconnect it all together, and pop something in there that we're not going to lose down there, just to prevent dirt from getting in. This bit may look brutal, but this slots into clips along the Tridion, and there's only one way to deal with this, and that's to get hold of it down here and separate it. At this point, the rear panel can be removed. Now, the only downside on this car is it's got these little parking sensors. I've never seen those on one of these, and I know they're aftermarket, so we're just going to have to see how much slack we've actually got. We need to disconnect the tail lights like that, and the same on this side. You can just see it there in the middle of the screen. And we need to disconnect this little solenoid here for the fuel flap lock with central locking. Now let's see how much slack we've got for the wiring. For these parking sensors, it's virtually none. I think I'm going to do away with these sensors right now and probably get a hold of a new panel here. With all those parking sensors disconnected, the rear panel can be removed and placed somewhere safe for the time being. Much like the front of the car under the panels, this is a nasty, muddy mess, and I'll need to do something about that. But on the bright side, it's good to see that that rear crash beam is intact, no damage. On the 451 like this, these are steel, so they can corrode. On the earlier 450 models, they were aluminium. And at this point, you can see the gravity of the exhaust situation. You can also see the 2 bolts we need to undo to remove it. There are 2 lambda probes. One there, that goes up into the engine bay, and another one there. So that's the number 1 sensor, which is before the exhaust silencer and catalyst, and that's the number 2 after. We need to get those disconnected before we do anything. I've very loosely refitted this tailgate lower cover because I needed to get in here to get to those connectors for the lambda probes. It's important not to lean on this at this point because it's only got 1 retaining strap there, and you can damage the hinges if you do. The connector for the number 2 sensor is just there, right in the middle at the top of the screen. And the connector for the number 1 oxygen sensor, or lambda probe, is just inside here. With this little piece chopped off, I can now remove the silencer from this end. Otherwise it was going to be impossible to get that over here because that little washer had been welded on there. Naturally there's nothing holding it on at this end, so now it's just a case of undoing the 2 bolts in there. These 14mm bolts are always very corroded, and we need to make sure the socket is really well and truly over it. Finally crack off. That would be the exhaust dropping down. At this point, the only thing holding the exhaust is this rubber mount on the left. And the little bugger is off. Just need to remove this bracket, and here it is. The remains of this sealing ring also just drop down. This is the one that pushes over this little elbow here. I'm just having a look at some of this wiring for these parking sensors. Like I said earlier, I'm doing away with these. Let's work out what is what. What am I getting in here? Is this the ECU, I wonder, that is about to appear from this gap? I think it is. There we go. Oh, Valio. Well, that's a surprise. Good Lord, it doesn't sound good enough to be Valio. What the hell's going where around here? Ah, there we go. Right, so we've got a little bundle of insulation tape here as well. Green. It's an interesting choice. I wonder what terminals have been used here. Let's guess. Should we have a guess? No! Chocolate blocks. Good Lord. We've got some work to do here, haven't we? Or I have. Let's remove this bundle of foam from in here. I think you'll agree that's a little bit more professional. Whilst I'm not going to put all the panels back on right now, what I am going to do is just retighten that tailgate. If you look carefully where the old nut was tightened, you can actually get these back in exactly the same place. So we just do that on both sides. I've just cleaned up the paintwork around these taillight openings, and I'm going to tape these up, which will prevent water from getting in there. And the same this side, because ultimately I'm going to be jet washing all of this filth and making the back end as beautiful as the front. The exhaust is off, bracket here, and it would have been something like that, but about out here, and the bit in between has rusted off. So I've got to work out what we can do with that. This all needs to be thoroughly jet washed and cleaned, and I'm very pleased to say that those parking sensors are no longer on the car. I'll just be looking for a lower panel just like that one there, because that one, once I remove those sensors from there, will have 4 holes in it. I had mentioned just the other day that this dowel has failed on this side, meaning that this just spins. The easiest way to get these out is to apply pressure as much as you can from behind. It kind of holds the dowel against the sill. You do have to pull it quite hard though, otherwise the bit behind just spins, which I think is happening at the moment. I need my prayer mat, I can't squat for this long. Oh great, now I've cut myself. Who knew plastic could be that sharp? There we go. Unfortunately that dowel has disappeared into the sill, and that is now its new home. Let's get a new one. While I bleed to death from my right thumb, there is the part number. So with this pulled back, we just pop one of those in there like that, and now it can do up like a normal thing. Why is this red? I was always told by my parents it was blue. Lovely. One of the strange things about these cars, and it was the same on the 450s, is that tar spots get in everywhere behind these panels. I've never understood how it happens, but it does, and the easiest way to get rid of it is to dissolve it with something like WD-40, or in my case GT85, because I've got quite a lot of it. You just spray that on, dissolves the tar. You have to leave it a little while, and sometimes you have to do it a couple of times. Everywhere. Little spots. It's exactly the same on this side. It's like sandpaper. It's rough. Spray that on and leave it. Get on there as well. Across the rear panel too, it gets on there. You see, it dissolves it beautifully. As I said, you'll need a couple of applications just to get rid of it all. And keep turning the rag, because not all of it's actually tar. It can be a bit abrasive. If you want to speed things up, you can use your nail. Picks the biggest bits off. Everything here is beautifully clean. Look at it. I think that's all I can do for today. Still not sure about this rear crash bar. It's quite crusty. I might get a price on that. Let's see how expensive it is. It's important that it is strong if something slams into the back of you. I'll have a think on that. I mean, it's not holed or anything, but it's pretty scabby. So that's it for today's video. I look forward to seeing you again in another one very soon.